This is my 1902 Underwood No.4 typewriter. It is a machine I recently picked up in Paradise, Nova Scotia. It came from a really old 18th century barn. I suspect it had not been used in at least 60 or 70 years based on the amount of dirt, dust, and general neglect this machine was in. However, as it sits right now, it is almost fully functional. I think there's one or two tweaks I have to make to a few things, but I've used it already on a consistent basis, and it is a nice machine. The Underwood No.4 is a bit of a staple alongside the No.5. They were not made in as many numbers, but they were still quite a prominent machine. This particular one is such an early example. It is still made by the Wagner Typewriter Company, and therefore has the earlier style escapement and a few other bits that were changed by the time John Underwood got his hands on it. So I wanted to go over this machine. It does not appear to be a Canadian export model, even though we're in Canada. So I think it was brought here at a later date. Now, the biggest downfall I found servicing this machine is that, as is so commonplace, the original shellac has failed, so it was yellowing and peeling in a lot of places. I decided, therefore, in order to preserve what are some of the nicest original decals I've ever seen on one of these, the faceplate and the patent dates on the back have been clear coated with a high quality clear. I do realize that replacement decals are available these days if you were to completely redo one of these, but given how nice they were on this machine, I decided to preserve them rather than strip the machine of its paint and completely repainting and replacing the decals. Anyways, so here an insight into a rather unique machine, because they were definitely not made in large quantities in the early days. The original feet are missing. The screws are there for it, but there's no rubber on them, and I know that there are replacements available, so I will outsource those at a later date. Here is the faceplate, and if you look a little closer, you can see the orange peel that has formed. But I have protected it at this stage, and all the pinstriping and the decals are in really nice condition, as they are down here. It was commonplace for these machines to be sent back to the manufacturer for refurbishing in later years. It seemed to be a common practice in the 30s and 40s, and they would streamline these to the point that they would remove the pinstriping and only keep the bare minimum. And this is not one of those. As you can see, all the original pinstriping is still present on this machine. It has the older style detached two-post ribbon advance mechanism that does not have the connecting rod in the center, but just has a toggle. On the later machines, there would be only one advance mechanism, and there would be a connecting rod running through underneath the type bars of the machine that would advance both sides of the ribbon. On this, however, there's two, and there is a toggle, a bar that runs across that lowers and raises these little arms that catch on the teeth of the gear. So it's a little bit more premature in its design and not as effective, but it gets the job done. Now here on the back, I'm trying to do this with rather questionable lighting, so forgive me if it's not as presentable as we would all like it to be. Here on the back, we have the original patent dates. And as you can see, they are all or almost all there. So I wanted to preserve these as well, especially because it's a Wagner machine still. So you do not buy those off the internet. I think they only supply John Underwood or Underwood Typewriter patent date. So I wanted to preserve these as best as I could. These are also protected. You can slightly make out where there is a separation between the new clear coat I applied and the original shellac that's peeling. But again, I wanted to preserve them as best as I could. It has the original canvas drawband, which is one of the nicer ones I've come across. I'm trying to film this for you, but it's not making it easy. The original canvas drawbands on these are usually so eroded that they come apart or are missing altogether. This one is very strong, so we've treated it with beeswax, and I think it will last another 100 years. I was amazed how well the bell shined up. That came when the machine came. It had quite a bit of rust pitting. It had that green calcification in a lot of places, and I was not expecting it to polish up as nicely as it did. And again, you can see how nice the pinstriping is on this machine, but it is suffering from that yellowing that so many earlier machines have because of the clear coat or the shellac that they would apply. I think they call this black Japan black, which is also harder to get. Now, I do see a bit of residue in there. I'm hoping to remove, but I've used this machine extensively, and sometimes when I flush these segments, after you start using the machine, some of the cleaner that I use mineral spirits or isopropyl alcohol, does tend to come out a little bit, so the first few pages you end up wiping the segment a lot before it clears out. However, it is in really nice condition. As you can see, there's even a bit of a shine to it. The type bar rest is a unique blue. I don't think that's ink staining. I think that's the color of the material that they use. The Underwood 1, and I forgot to show that in the previous review, the Underwood number 1 I've got actually has a leather, I think it's horse leather key rest. It's quite unique. You see by this time the nickel-plated ruler has been replaced for a conventional one, although it does not have the red markings the later ones had. This margin is missing a little knob there on that pivoting part. It does have the older style Wagner paper fingers. The paper table is probably the worst off. The decal has been affected by the aging of the shellac, but once again the pinstriping is all there. It being an earlier machine, it being a Wagner, it does not have the Underwood crest that you would see on later machines. And again, if you know what these what an Underwood it looks like mechanically and aesthetically, and you're familiar with these machines, you will point out the differences that you see in an earlier example compared to a later one. There's actually substantial changes that occurred over the course these machines were made. And their classic style, and I'll include the number 1 and number 2 were made from 1896 until 1933. And although from a distance they look identical, they are far from it. And as soon as I have my machines out of storage, I will do a comparison video to give you an insight into how different all those machines are. Now this machine is functional. I will upload a typing sample video upon the conclusion of this review to give you an insight into how it works, and I would love it if you left me a comment. Let me know what you think. Please like and subscribe, and continue watching these videos. Have a very nice day.